Our story unfolds in ancient Israel, during a turbulent era known as the time of the Judges. It was a period marked by moral decay and societal unrest, a stark contrast to the peace God intended for His people. A severe famine then gripped the land, even reaching Bethlehem, a name that ironically means house of bread. This scarcity forced difficult choices upon its inhabitants. Among those affected was Elimelech, his wife Naomi, and their 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion. They made the desperate decision to leave their homeland in search of sustenance. Their journey led them to Moab, a foreign land situated east of the Dead Sea. This move placed them outside the covenant community of Israel, a significant departure from their heritage. Tragedy soon struck the family in Moab. Elimelech, the patriarch, died, leaving Naomi a widow in a foreign land. Years passed, and Mahlon and Chilion married Moabite women named Orpah and Ruth. These unions brought new life and hope into Naomi's grieving household. However, after approximately 10 years, further sorrow descended upon Naomi. Both Mahlon and Chilion also died, leaving Naomi utterly bereft, a widow who had lost her husband and both her sons. News eventually reached Naomi that the famine in Bethlehem had ended. The Lord had visited His people and provided food once more. With nothing left for her in Moab, Naomi resolved to return to her homeland. She began the long journey back, broken and bitter from her profound losses. As they traveled, Naomi urged her 2 daughters-in-law, Orpah and Ruth, to return to their own families. She believed they would find new husbands and a better life among their own people. Orpah, after much weeping, ultimately heeded Naomi's advice. She kissed her mother-in-law goodbye and returned to her Moabite family and gods. But Ruth's devotion was unshakable. She pledged an extraordinary vow of unwavering loyalty, declaring, "Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay." Her commitment extended beyond family to faith, stating, "Your people will be my people, and your God my God." Together, Naomi and Ruth continued their arduous journey. They arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest, a time of new beginnings, though Naomi felt only despair. Upon their arrival, Ruth, a foreigner and a widow, took the initiative to provide for herself and Naomi. She humbly sought permission to glean in the fields, gathering leftover grain behind the reapers. Through what can only be described as divine providence, Ruth found herself working in the field of Boaz. He was a wealthy and respected man, and unbeknownst to Ruth, a close kinsman of Naomi's deceased husband, Elimelech. Boaz soon noticed the diligent young woman working tirelessly in his fields. He inquired of his foreman about her identity, curious about this newcomer. Upon learning she was Ruth, the Moabite woman who had returned with Naomi, Boaz showed her remarkable kindness. He offered her protection, provision, and permission to glean freely, even instructing his workers to leave extra grain for her. Ruth, overwhelmed by his generosity, expressed her gratitude. Boaz, in turn, blessed her for her steadfast devotion to Naomi and for seeking refuge under the wings of the God of Israel. Ruth returned home that evening with a significant amount of grain, far more than expected. Naomi was astonished by her abundant gleaning. When Ruth explained where she had been, Naomi immediately recognized the significance of Boaz's identity. He was not just a kind landowner, but a close relative, a kinsman redeemer. The concept of a kinsman redeemer, or Goel, was vital in ancient Israelite law. This individual had the responsibility to protect the family line, property, and reputation of a deceased relative. This revelation sparked a flicker of hope in Naomi's heart, a light in her long-held bitterness. She saw a path to restoration and security for herself and Ruth. Naomi, now with a renewed sense of purpose, devised a strategic plan. She instructed Ruth to go to the threshing floor where Boaz would be winnowing barley at night. Ruth, trusting Naomi completely, followed her instructions. She approached Boaz quietly after he had finished eating and lay down at his feet. When Boaz awoke, startled, Ruth humbly requested him to act as her kinsman redeemer. She asked him to spread the corner of his garment over her, a symbolic gesture of protection and marriage. Boaz was deeply moved by Ruth's humility, her virtuous character, and her loyalty. He promised to fulfill his duty, acknowledging her noble reputation throughout the town. However, Boaz revealed a crucial detail. There was a relative even closer than he. This closer kinsman had the first right of redemption according to the law. Boaz, a man of integrity, wasted no time in addressing the matter. The very next morning, he went to the city gate, the public place where legal and business matters were settled. He gathered 10 elders of the city and presented the case to the closer relative. Boaz offered him the opportunity to redeem Elimelech's land, which Naomi was now selling. The closer relative initially agreed to redeem the land, eager to acquire the property. However, his decision changed when Boaz informed him that redeeming the land also meant marrying Ruth, the Moabite widow. Fearing he would jeopardize his own inheritance by marrying Ruth and raising an heir for Elimelech, the closer relative declined. He formally relinquished his right of redemption to Boaz. With the closer relative stepping aside, Boaz publicly declared his intention. He would redeem the land and marry Ruth, solidifying his commitment to restore Naomi's family line. The elders and all the people present at the gate blessed Boaz and Ruth. They wished them a fruitful lineage, comparing Ruth to the matriarchs Rachel and Leah, who built up the house of Israel. Boaz and Ruth were married, and the Lord blessed their union. In due time, Ruth conceived and gave birth to a son, whom they named Obed. The women of Bethlehem rejoiced with Naomi, celebrating the birth of her grandson. They recognized God's provision of a redeemer, not just for Ruth, but for Naomi herself, restoring her hope and dignity. Obed grew to become the father of Jesse, who, in turn, became the father of David. This lineage established Obed as the grandfather of Israel's greatest king, King David. Through Ruth, a foreign woman from Moab, God's divine plan unfolded. Her unwavering loyalty and faith led her into the very lineage of the Messiah, demonstrating God's inclusive grace. The Book of Ruth stands as a profound testament to God's unwavering providence. It highlights how His grand plan of redemption unfolds through the seemingly ordinary lives and circumstances of people. This timeless narrative beautifully illustrates powerful themes of loyalty, humility, and steadfast love. It underscores the enduring power of God's sovereign hand, even in times of despair. Out of profound loss and bitter despair, a remarkable story of hope and a significant legacy emerged. This lineage, beginning with Ruth and Boaz, ultimately leads to Jesus Christ, the Redeemer of the world.